All right. Well, folks, thank you for coming in today. My name is Juan Rivera. I am a corporate vice president at Microsoft, and I work on Microsoft Teams on the engineering side. I'm a software engineer. I learned how to program very early in life. Maybe I think I was in sixth grade. I was 10 years old, something like that. And I'm from Puerto Rico. I live here in Miami since 1999, and today we're gonna speak about generative AI, how we've been using it at Microsoft, and I'll share some experiences, some demos, and then would love to get to answer any questions you may have about Microsoft, generative AI, developing with AI, what does it mean? Should I even study computers? I'm sure that often gets that asked. So, make the most opportunity. Ask me any questions, okay? So this is the first computer I learned how to program. It's a computer from 1981. And my first game, I wrote video games. My first game was Missile Command. And it had, basically it's all these rockets falling from the sky, and then you have to kill them and then avoid the rocket hitting your cities before you run out of bullets. That was the game. And at one point, this computer had this tape recorder where you could store your games in an audio recorder. And the audio recorder broke. So if I turn on the computer, I'll lose my game. And I'll turn it on again the next day, I'll practice it again. And back then, the manual was in English. I did not speak English, and I was trying to make sense out of it. As I had 10 years old, so I was just trying to figure it out. But I fell in love with programming, and I knew then this is what I want to do. I want to do in my life. So there's been a lot of talk about AI. I mean, this is the topic of the day, and one of the things that we often ask ourselves is, why is this important, and how this is going to change? And I think there's a lot of people with excitement about AI, some people are scared about AI, and there is a lot of, okay, tell me how am I supposed to use this? Sometimes people say, hey, should my son be using AI for school? All these questions come up, and I think that over my career in the industry, there have been a number of revolutions. One of them was moving all the software to the cloud, and we have to reimagine all the software to the cloud. Another one was mobile. We had all these apps written for desktops, and then there was everything on mobile. And now AI is similar to that, where we have to reimagine how software is and how people use software when now you have these AI agents that you talk to. But what ultimately this does is allow us to be a lot more productive in many ways. And I think just like learning how to use the internet or learning how to use Google, learning how to use AI is just as essential. I have a son who was 25 years old, and when he was a kid, he will ask me, hey Dad, how do I do this? I said, did you Google it? I said, no. You need to go Google it. You need to learn how to Google things so you can find answer to your questions. And if you can find the answer, I'll work with you on how to write Google query, but I'm not going to tell you the answer. And he'll get all frustrated. AI is similar. Like, you have to learn how to use it. You have to learn how to ask the right questions to get the answers, and that requires practice. Sometimes people don't even know the type of things they can do with it because they haven't really spent the time. So it's very, very important that you spend the time to master how to use these tools. It's gonna give you an incredible edge in life. You're gonna be more productive, you're gonna be able to do things much faster. And as such, we start reimagining all our products at Microsoft. And what does this products gonna look like now that we have AI? And that actually means that sometimes the product that we have today makes no longer sense, and we have to completely reimagine that product in the face of AI. And there's a lot of other companies trying to replace Microsoft with those ideas, so it's very competitive. This exciting time because a lot of these things are changing. Um, you know, when we first got access to ChatGPT, was before it was actually made public. It was, I think ChatGPT was made public November 2022. We got access to it in the summer. And we started looking at it and work on the meeting side of things. And the first thing we did was, let's take the transcript of the meeting and let's ask it to create a summary. And we were like, oh my God, this thing does something that in the past was just not technically possible. It actually, it's the first time you look at it, we were really impressed with it. And then after 3-4 months of looking at the summaries, we started realizing it wasn't really that good, but it's one of those things where you start paying closer attention and then you're no longer surprised that you can actually do it, but the quality of the summary wasn't that good. But we start looking at these ideas, like how can we introduce these AI features into the product? So it's sort of like the phase one of this journey, which is just take AI, make it a feature of the product, and then come up with something like this. And that's what we did. We basically took in themes, take the transcriptions of the meetings, and then create summaries. And so people don't need to go to the meeting and so on. But now we're now going to another phase of this journey, which is, let's not just slap AI to the product, but instead reimagine the product. Imagine a product, you start with a blank sheet of paper, and then imagine if you were to start from scratch, how would these products look like? And that's sort of the journey we are, is reimagining everything as the AI models become better. And it is a fascinating time, because the way things are evolving is this concept of agents, or almost giving AI its own identity, where they show up as digital entities or digital people in our organization, and then you talk to them and interact as if they were other people. And what does that mean, right, to how people work and the tools and so on? So there's just so much discovery, so much philosophy discussing about what does this mean to society, All those things are just very interesting topics of how the future is going to shape up. And, I think the next 10, 15 years, 20 years is going to be fascinating, because as these things get better and better, there's going to be more and more opportunities to reimagine things in ways that we haven't thought. And, the younger generations who grow with these tools from the beginning will have an intrinsic advantage to see the world very different from people like me, who are sort of kind of embracing it later in life. So why it's so important to really learn these tools as early as possible. So one of the things that we did in teams that really changed how people work was this idea of mini recaps. So during the pandemic, people were glued to their computers and doing meetings after meetings after meetings, and it was a drain. People say, I just spent my entire day, one meeting after the next meeting, and it's just an entire day sitting in front of the computer, listening to people in a video files. I'm just sick of it. And part of the problem was that people felt that if I'm not in the meeting, I'm not in the know. And we were able to say, hey, now we have this concept of, AI is going to summarize all these things. You can now go to the meeting and then go back to Copilot and say, hey, Copilot, what did this person say about this? What happened here? What was decided? And we were able to do all those things because we were taking all what happened in the meeting and use AI to analyze it and answer questions. And that really changed the way people go into meetings, where people say to me, I don't go to all my meetings. Now I'm not a slave of my calendar where I just need to go one minute. And those are the things that are profoundly impactful, because it changes the way people work. It changes how people collaborate in ways that are better for them. They feel much better. And so those are the things where you say, AI is a positive. It's actually improving people's lives. So what I'm going to show you a demo, because so one of the things that we first did was, we're going to take the transcript and create a summary. But guess what? In meetings, it's not just about what people say. it's also about what people show in the screen. So the generative AI has evolved where it can not only understand language, but also can understand images. So what we did, I'll show you a demo here, is how we take what people are showing the screen, analyzing that, and then using that as also as part of what Copilot can do to answer questions. So for instance, if in the screen you show a red car and everybody's talking about the car and talking about the price of the car, but nobody ever says the car is red, and then you go to Copilot and say, hey, what was the color of the car? So unless we analyze what was shown in the screen, Copilot wouldn't be able to answer that question. But now, because of the evolution of generative AI, we can actually analyze images alongside with the text so that we can have better answers. So I'll play the video.
Welcome to the Visual Insights in Intelligent Recap project, part of the 2024 Hackathon. Nowadays, summarizing meetings using LLMs has become a commodity. Anyone can effortlessly download a transcript, pop it into ChatGPT, and instantly get a concise summary. So, how do we go beyond summarization? Meeting Copilot recently revealed that meeting chats can be used as rounding data for prompts. Now, we're taking it one step further by using not only transcript or chat as an input, but also visuals and screen share content. As we all know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Recent research shows that 42% of meetings or group calls include shared content, with users expecting to have all relevant information be part of the summary. In this project, we are harnessing the power of OpenAI's GPT-4o and leveraging the work being done for Meeting Copilot to enhance meeting summaries with visual and shared content. To demonstrate the power of visuals in meeting notes, we are using the Meeting Catch-Up internal portal. Let's take a look.
Let's see the screenshots. What people show. Right, well, I'll keep going. All right, so that was the concept. What that is interesting is that now we're making the tool multimodal. It's not just about text, it's about images, audio. We're going to be introducing audio too. So all these things are new ways where we can actually leverage AI. This is another demo of...
Here we have a meeting about Teams Meeting Lifecycle AI Strategy. Facilitator Agent has joined us and can be found in the upper right AI Signals area and in the People roster with other participants. At the top of meeting stage, you can see a new timer UX for managing time. Facilitator segmented it by agenda topics from the invite, visually keeping the conversation on topic and allocated time for each. Facilitator uses meeting chat to communicate what it's doing. At the start of the meeting,
So if you can see here, what's happening is now AI, instead of just doing a summary, it's actually a participant of the meeting. It's almost like another person in the meeting who is interacting with the people in the meeting. So now we're giving AI almost like an identity. And that's sort of the journey where we're going with, where AI is going to be more of a, just another person that you're going to be working with in a meeting. Okay, so this one is a very interesting demo. So one of the challenges we have with collaboration is language. So people, many kind of people don't say language. So in many organizations, they rely on having interpreters who can translate what people say in another language. But if we want to really connect people, bring people together, we can use generative AI to do this automatically. But just translating what people say is not necessarily that useful. What's really useful is how you make it personable. So what I'm going to show you here today is how we use voice cloning, which is another technique of generative AI, where we take a couple of seconds of your voice and then use that to generate your to have you speak in a different language. So I start speaking in Spanish, and you're gonna hear my voice in English generated by AI. So what this allows is now you can have people meeting, everybody speaks their own language, but they all understand each other. So, anyway. And by the way, the reason this actually is, it's fantastic is because you hear the person in their voice, not some robotic voice. You want to choose the language you want to use. English.
Necesitamos finalizar el diseño antes del viernes para que la producción pueda empezar a tiempo la próxima semana sin ningún retraso. Es muy importante que cumplamos con este plazo para mantenernos. We need to finish the design before Friday so that production can start on time next week without any delay. It is very important that we meet this deadline to keep our delivery commitments.
をチームと確認して、すべてが順調に進んでいることを確認してから前に進みます。また、来て思うわ。I checked with the team and confirmed that everything is going smoothly before moving forward. In addition, we will submit a detailed report on progress by the end of today.
听起来不错，在我们正式签字确认之前，一起再 sounds good.
Before we officially sign and confirm, let's check together the content we modified last time so that we can ensure that everyone has a unanimous opinion and won't miss any details.
So this actually is a way to bring people together, right? Because you hear them, their voice, but everybody can speak their own language. These are the things that are possible with generative AI. And the opportunities that are created because of what we can do now. And just like this, I mean, I'm showing you this to sort of kind of scratch your imagination of what are the possibilities of problems that can be solved that have not been solved in the past, but now with generative AI are possible to solve. And this is applicable in so many areas in the world. And they can have profound positive impact in many people in society. You know, I don't have a demo here, but one of the other things that we're working on is sign language. So somebody being able to speak in sign language and then you can hear their voice in a meeting. So those are, or if they're deaf, they can actually get a sign language of what people are saying to them. So it's another way to bring people.
This is Suzanne. What is the password for the Wi-Fi?
All right, so this is, yes.
Wait, sorry, you said if someone is deaf, they can give itself. What do you give?
So they can speak with sign language, and the AI through the camera, the AI can translate what they're saying and actually speak with them. Today, when we have people with that are deaf or hard of hearing, we often require an interpreter who sits in the meeting. And in fact, we actually done some working things for that, where if the interpreter joins, it shows us a special type of attendee, so that when the interpreter is speaking for that person, it actually shows as if that person is the one speaking. But then again, you really need a person to do this for that person with who's deaf, which means that you may not be able to do this for everyone. And so you can imagine how many people who are not able to join the workforce because of these limitations, and being able to use generative AI to remove those barriers and bring a lot more people into the workforce is a process, so that you can make it very economic. Yes.
I had a question. How does the program handle multiple people are speaking?
Yes, so that's a great question, and that's what you saw. There's a queue that is set, because what happens right now, there is a few seconds delay. It's not done in real time. Mm-hmm. So when you're doing this, you need to have a bit of a wait time. So it's not yet in real time, but we're working to make it real time. It's just we need faster GPUs that have not been invented yet. So, there's some stuff that will get better as the GPUs get faster. Yeah. Yes.
So, outside of meetings, do you guys plan on implementing these type of AI language stuff like in the real world, where like I could be face to face and talking to someone? And how would you implement that if you guys are going to?
Meaning like the translation like this?
Yeah, but like in real world where I'm like talking to you and we're speaking different languages. It could be AR or like I don't know how else you would do it. That's fine.
I mean, I'll show you a little trick. If I have ChatGPT, you can put the voice option and say, "Hey ChatGPT, whatever I say in English, say it in Spanish, and whatever it says in Spanish, say in English." Do you understand? Anyway, I don't know. It's hard.
The Wi-Fi is
Yeah, but here, this is an example where you can use ChatGPT today.
Okay.
And if you go to a country that somebody don't understand, you can just do this and have a conversation.
Got it.
And I mean, there's gonna be different ways where with glasses, but I mean, I think those things are a little far out. Yes.
So for the translate feature, does it best translate languages to English, or does it translate between English to
Any other language? Right now we do 11 languages, but we're gonna do all languages. Yes.
Will you guys implement this in like voice chat and Xbox?
I don't know if we want to do that. It's very expensive, and so people have to pay. Right now, this is very expensive to run, so it'll need to come down quite a bit in price before we make it in something like Xbox. But again, it's bound to happen at some point because I mean the technology is there. It just need to be made economically and faster. But yes, it would be cool. Yes.
I don't think, just to build up his question, I don't think I have seen personally the ASL feature like in many of the technologies yet. So are there any plans to implement that into real world technology like the AR glasses or something else like that?
The
ASL translation where you would
I mean like so we're not working on glasses at Microsoft, so
yeah.
That's not but it is, I mean we're training models to understand the hands to do the translation, so and just like we're doing, I'm sure Meta and Google are doing the same. I mean it's bound to happen soon. Yes.
Okay.
So I mean,
Thank you.
I mean, we're at the beginning of this AI revolution, and when we look at it 10 years from now, like today you think about, oh my God, remember those days when people didn't have cell phone? How could they survive without cell phone? Because you know where they were, and now we just take it for granted, right? I mean, this is kind of like the thing. We're gonna look at back 10 years ago. Oh my God, we remember we didn't have AI. How could we survive without it? So it's just gonna be so ingrained in everything we do. It's gonna shape things quite a bit. Yes.
Yeah, I just feel like it's kind of like there's an engineering kind of side of it. Do you persist when you first like train a model on someone's voice? Do you persist that model across like all the? Is it like persistent for the
No.
Or it's every meeting it changes?
It changes because right now we're at least for now we do it this way just so that there's no issue with privacy.
Okay.
Because if I store, then I have to secure it.
Yeah, that's why I was
I
asking.
want to worry about it. So yes.
But then I would assume it's quite expensive to retrain it every time.
No. It's not expensive. This happens just in the first 3 seconds of you speaking. That's all we need to go the voice. So that's why there's a little bit of delay at the beginning. Yes.
If someone does a thick accent, have you tested that out? I'm like,
When I did this and I spoke in Spanish, I sounded exactly how I sound in English with this Puerto Rican accent. I mean, I was so amazed. I was like, I didn't lose my Puerto Rican accent. So that was pretty incredible. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Do you take tone of voice into account when it's like recording your voice?
Do I have to do a fake?
Your
Yeah, it does. It does. Yes, and I know you guys are pushing his personal approach, so I think it's very important to have your own voice in those chats. For ASL users, how you guys gonna use that? It's a robotic voice. So yeah, because that person doesn't have they don't have I mean I guess it's a robotic voice. Yes.
Do you think we should start putting restrictions on AI? And if so, like at what point?
Oh yeah, so we have at Microsoft we have a department that is on responsible AI, and then we analyze a lot of these things. And here's going back to why would I study philosophy today instead of computer science? Because it's just a lot of stuff around the non-technical aspects that need to be really well thought out about the implications of certain things, how things could potentially be exploited in terrible ways. You know, there was one instance in a bank of Hong Kong where somebody used the voice of the CEO, like a public video of the CEO. It cloned their voice and then make a call to the bank and say, hey, I need you to do this, and the person thought I was the CEO, and they stole money. So you start looking at, there are many potential risks with this thing, and so you have to think about all those things and make sure that when we put something out there, we look at how to do this responsibly. And there's a lot of conversations about a lot of those things with anything that we do. I'm sure even ChatGPT today can do a lot more than it does, but they don't expose those things because of the risk of, yeah.
What do you think the future of AI auditing is, where you have to go back and make sure the AI got it right? AIs do a few things.
Mm-hmm.
So how security became the whole section of IT. There's gonna be AI auditing. You go back and make sure the AI is done right. Is that gonna be it?
It is a problem. Like one of the biggest issues today with AI is something called prompt injection, which is you can actually tell, let's say I build an agent and the agent is supposed to do certain things. I can actually send in my request to break away from the boundaries that the agent was supposed to do and then do things that it wasn't supposed to. So those are things how do we secure this? It's a huge topic of right now it's limiting what we can do with it, where we cannot really allow it to do too much because we cannot do this securely. Now keep in mind, nobody understands how this model internally works, right? We train them, but nobody, it's so complicated that there's no way to describe it in code so a lot of these things are still being it's kind of like the brain, you wire all the neurons, but nobody can really understand how the algorithm works. So there's all these different things that we're doing around it to ensure that it's not exploited. And oftentimes what we do is we don't do many things because we don't have a good way to do the security. Yes.
Why you say begin to lose control?
No.
No, because I don't know. Because if you're saying that you don't really understand what's going on the inside,
Yeah.
then where's the limit? Where's the limit where you're okay?
You still provide training instructions. It's essentially brute forcing. You think of it this way: when you're a toddler and your brain is still forming, it's essentially doing random connections, and eventually this random connection is giving you those at speed. It's developing the same way the human brain. It doesn't have consciousness, but it's the same thing. So it's not necessarily bad that you can't understand how it works. That's kind of if we could understand how it works, then we could make it ourselves. We wouldn't need a whole training system. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, because you can still see those patterns and analyzing. But it's just you can put safeguards around it on the outside that can provide a somewhat good enough level of security, at least for now. I don't think
it's effectively a brain. But just so perspective, a brain, we talk about how many parameters is, 70 billion parameters or trillion parameters, its models. The brain has hundreds and hundreds of trillion parameters, so we're still far from what the brain can do today. So but it's mimicking the brain. That's what it does. It just creates the neurons, and it's just, as we get faster and faster GPUs, will be able to bring bigger models. And one of the problems today is how much data we have, and can we train it with synthetic data. Right now we use, what we call it world knowledge, which is every book, every article, everything that's been written out there to train models. But if we want to train it with more, then we have to synthetically create the data for training. So there's a lot of research going on how we can do this cost effective. If you read the news about DeepSeek, they came up with a technique that made it very cost effective. another better school. But those are the things are going up right now to accelerate this journey.
What about in terms of environmental factors and electric? What about in terms of environmental factors and like energy consumption? What are you guys doing to slow that?
So I had a chat. So we're funding. So Microsoft is funding a couple of startups that are doing fission, and we probably, I think by 2035, we'll probably start seeing some commercially viable fission. That's probably going to be the final answer for the energy problem. Until then, it's gonna be rough. Yes.
So I
Oh wait, no, it has an answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
You sure?
You are, and I need
Well, like I would say this nuclear. We already have a nuclear energy. People are afraid of it, right? They're afraid of using it. They're afraid of
Fusion. We have
fusion. Yeah, not fusion, but we have fusion. People are still afraid of it. Why do you think people will be okay with? I mean, this is totally unrelated to that.
Oh, because fission.
Well, I know it's safer, but for the general, like people, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
right, because fission, the way fission works, it's like the way this has been done. There's no meltdown issue because it's just like a pellet. You blast it, you produce electricity. You put another one, you blast it. So the moment you stop the conveyor belt, the reaction.
But do you think people are still gonna like unnecessarily worry about it?
course.
Against it? But you don't think it will impinge the progress of it?
I mean, I think it's just unavoidable. That be that.
Sorry to ask you, Hopper.
No.
So you know how it was kind of like replacing the job, the AI of the translators. What is your opinion on that? On they replacing such an important job like that now with AI? Like
Replacing what?
replacing, like, you know how the translator AI on the Icon Teach is kind of replacing the human translator, the human jobs. What's your opinion on that going on to the future where AI might take jobs from other people? Like, what's your opinion on that?
So you know, in the 19th century in the UK, there was a job called knocker-outer, and it was this guy. He'll go with a long stick, and go to your window and knock it up to wake you up, right? And then the alarm clock was invented. So there's many examples in history where technology has made certain jobs obsolete. But if you look at it in the entirely of history, people will, there's new jobs, new roles that are invented, and then people keep, finding new ways to. The thing is, we need to be able to adapt, right? As a society, as humans, we need to be adaptable to learn new skills, and why it's so important, for the younger generation to really embrace some of these things, because these are the things that are going to define where the opportunities are going to be in the future. So, yes.
So on the same topic of being able to adapt to changes in AI maybe in the future, do you think the current speed of development of AI is maybe on a pace that?
Yes, that's definitely the concern, that the changes are happening so fast that people may not be able to adapt, and that is definitely a concern for sure. Yes.
Follow up. Are you guys at Microsoft doing anything maybe to address the speed or?
We're trying to be as fast as we can.
Well,
It's a race.
It is.
It's a race of Google, Meta, Microsoft, China. So there's just a lot of people trying to get there. Yes.
Who do you, in your opinion, think is winning the race right now?
The United States. Hands up. Yeah. Yeah.
How are you guys incorporating AI to help you build better machines, or like build better technology?
Oh yeah, I'll talk about that.
Yes. Now, what do you think is the biggest hurdle right now in AI technology? Is it processing power, or is it something else?
Yeah, it's GPU. Yeah, we need faster GPUs. We need more power. We need more data centers. We need just more capacity. That's the, like for instance, one of the things that we do, I don't know if you remember, there was a whole thing about prompt engineering, and this would be the new career, which is not. The things that we realize is if you want to build a good solution on AI, prompting or adjusting the prompts is going to get to certain points. then at that point you need to do fine tuning, which is you take an existing model and then you sort of kind of adjust the training. So those things are very expensive to do and time consuming, and so we run into GPU capacity issues if we want to do that a lot. So there's still issues where, or like I shared the Visual Insights one. The reason we haven't released Visual Insights is because it's right now still too expensive to run. Because I have for every slide that you present at every meeting, I have to analyze it, and analyzing an image compared to text is, it's like it's 1,000 times more expensive. So those are some of the things that are limiting. Is how do we make this a lot more cost effective by having faster GPUs, more access, more availability of them, so more data centers, and that's where you see in the news. Microsoft spending $80 billion this year in data centers, and next year it's going to be more, and Google is doing the same thing, and Meta is doing the same thing. Everybody's doing this because this is sort of the thing. Just like in the 2000s when the internet started booming, there was just everybody throwing cables across the world to connect everything. This is exactly that massive build out. That's what's happening today. Yes.
So is your team specifically planning on joining the Magellan?
With
Magellan?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's still a very researchy project. Quantum is still many years away. But quantum is kind of like fission. Those are things that are going to make a big leap in terms of what we can do from wise or power-wise with the fusion. So those are maybe 10 years away. And that's what I'm saying. Like when you look at all this 10, 15 years from now, where capacity costs are no longer issues because we solved the power issue, we solved the capacity issue, then it's just going to be even a further explosion of areas where this is going to be ingrained in everything that we do. And why now is the time to acquire the skills, because that's where the opportunity is going to be. And sometimes I hear people say, should I study computer engineering? Oh my God, of course you do. Come on, this is the place, this is a career that's transforming the world. Why would you not do this? To the contrary, we need more. Please. All right. So this demo is an example of somebody was asking, what about these roles that they go away? So this one is, hey, imagine if you have somebody who can, if somebody calls you, would actually take the call and take notes, whatever, answer questions for you, so you don't have to do that. And right now, only a handful of people can afford having somebody who will do that for them. But imagine if AI will do that actually.
This call may be recorded or transcribed. Hello, Ruben. I'm Elia's assistant.
So you see, like they just called, somebody called in, and then the AI is oh, sorry.
This call may be recorded or transcribed. Hello, Ruben. I'm Elia's assistant. How can I help you today?
Hey, I talked to Elia about her needs at the upcoming festival.
I'd be happy to help with that, Ruben. Can you let me know if this is an urgent matter, or would you prefer to schedule?
Right, so another video will be, but you get the idea. Somebody calls you, and instead of you having to take the call, AI is going to ask the question, hey, what is it about? And then figure out if you really need to take the phone call. And imagine everybody having a personal assistant.
Would they start calling each other?
Yeah, they start calling. There's this joke about, you need to send this status to your boss, and then you have 3 bullet items, and then you say, Copilot, write me a 20-page document about this, and then Copilot writes 20 pages, and then you send this status to your boss, and the boss looks at the 20-page document and says, Copilot, can you summarize this in 3 bullet items? So it's kind of like that. Okay, so I want to talk about this because, this whole thing about AI and using AI for developing is being one of the reasons people say, hey, should I see computer science? I mean, is this even relevant? I mean, this whole vibe programming, and I don't need to really write code. As things will change, and things are changing, but you still need the creativity of the human brain to really do things. It's just that just like in many stages of how computer programming has evolved, this is just another one. I mean, if you look at 50 years ago, people were doing punch cards or writing assembly code. Right now, I mean, like there's just things have changed so much since those days. It hasn't invalidated the career. If anything, you know, it has created an explosion of more opportunities. So GitHub Copilot, it's definitely, well, one of the cool things about it is free, so you should be able to use it. I'm going to show you a quick demo. So the one thing that GitHub Copilot has is you can ask questions, you know, about the code, but now has this concept of agent, and I'll show the demo. And what the agent does is once you ask them to do something, it will compile the code, test this actually working. So it's doing more than just write the code. So this is code that anybody can write. It's just that it probably will take you 4 hours to write it, and then with agent, it will take you 10 minutes. And that's the opportunity. Right now, you can be able to do a lot more, much faster. You know, somebody was saying, hey, you know, sometimes the code it writes is kind of trash, it's not really good. And that's true. It's still not as good as it should be. But what I have found is that if you really learn how to use it, you can get the most out of it by knowing how the scenarios that you actually will do a good job. And the only way you get to that point is you got to try, see where it actually does a good job, where it doesn't. The problems that you ask it to do, if you go too generic, it would actually just go sideways. But if you're specific, it can be very effective. I actually use it if I need to do some refactoring, which is a very tedious and error-prone exercise. It can actually be very good at refactoring code.
Well, when I use it, the code does like work, but I feel like it doesn't need like when you're coding for work, there's like very strict standards. Like each company's its own thing. I can still try to give it, but sometimes it doesn't need perfect safety things or just stuff like that. Where it technically works, but it's like not the code you would expect.
Well, I'll tell you, like one of the things I like to do is I finish writing some code and I ask it to Copilot, hey, look at this, and would you make any recommendations? And it actually gives you some good recommendations. Maybe you miss some exception handling or you're supposed to use a specific object. So there's things that can be of value when you use it. It's just kind of, it's just like searching Google. They just need to practice and learn how to do it to get the most out of it.
So the line completion is amazing.
Oh yeah, the line completion is amazing. Yeah. This is about the demo. So it's like I need to add a feature to a website, you know? And I mean, the other day I went and I created a website using an app called Lovable, that app. I don't know if you've heard of it. And then you go there and you say, hey, I need to create a website for this. And it created a very nice website for me. And then I needed to write a Azure function so that it has a contact form. Actually, I can show you the website so you can do this. And this work wouldn't have taken me. Let me answer the specification. This website would have taken me. Where is oh yeah. Let me open the website here because I don't know that. Oh, I don't have internet. Oh, so sorry.
You can just go to the.
Okay, well, I mean, it doesn't matter. Point is, I went to Lovable. I was able to create a website in 15 minutes, customize it. Then I had a form that I needed to. If somebody filled out the form, send me an email with that data. I wrote an Azure function with Copilot. The whole process took me 2 hours. And the website looked fantastic. And I'm like, if I had to do this by hand, this would have taken me 2 weekends. And I probably wouldn't have done it because I'm like, I don't know if I want to commit 2 weekends for this. But now with AI, 2 hours, happy to do it. And it's like how you can really use these tools to do things much faster, and then you'll be able to pick up things that you may not even be willing to do, right?
That's only okay. I'm looking for wording and everything like that. So I'm trying to prepare to technical interviews. Yeah, I think that's going to become obsolete. This
What would become obsolete?
technical interviews.
No, I don't think they will become obsolete. I think.
Have you heard of the guy that like made like an AI on his computer where it's not detected by any softwares and whatnot, where it'll just do the problem for you, and then
Okay.
it's also glasses.
Okay, yeah. So if what is obsolete is if I ask you what's the capital of France and you say Paris, like just a particular nugget of information. Oh, you know how to do a book on React? And I say, oh yeah, whatever. That sure, but that's not what we seek when we interview. So you see, like for instance, if I go to a job fair, the first question I ask is, what did you learn recently and why? It's a very open question. But what I'm seeking is, I'm seeking a curious mind. I'm seeking somebody who can learn on their own. Because guess what? When you go to work as a software engineer, if you're going to study software engineering, you're making a lifetime commitment to learn. You know, what I was programming in the 90s, none of that is applicable today. So the things I learned back then, not relevant. If I had not continued to learn and retrain my brain on new technologies, even new ways of thinking about building software, I wouldn't have had a long career in the industry. So what I seek is people who have curiosity, have the ability to learn, right? And that shows up in conversation like that. I say, yeah, I 2 weeks ago I saw this framework and I thought it was very interesting, and then I wrote this. Let me show you the code. Awesome. Oh, that you know how to use this particular function? Who cares? Who cares about that? You know, that is not relevant, right? So it's a different way of thinking about what is it that matters, and that's why I said, so you want to be a good software engineer, you need to write a lot of code, and not be limited to whatever is in school, because that doesn't give you enough. But you need to show that curiosity. You should have your GitHub and with all the code that you write. If it doesn't worry about if it's pretty or ugly, don't worry about it, but just write code. Practice, practice, practice. Learn. Teach your brain to learn, to how to learn. Learn quickly and learn fast, right? Because that's what you're gonna need at work. So people check. That to me is whoever is doing the interviews. I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't worry me at all. Like, at least for me, I was like, it's just, that's not really that important. In fact, sometimes in interviews they put people on a whiteboard to write code, and that's a terrible thing to do because people don't write code on a whiteboard. And and you never get the code right the first time. You have to go a few times and debug it, and so writing in the whiteboard, like,
if one of the AP exams they have you like write functions on a piece of paper and then like as an essay, it's just like this is the most.
Whatever. So wanted to answer this question because I get a lot of questions about this, and the best way to look at how AI is changing the landscape for software engineering is helping people be able to do things much easier. So if I'm a noob and I'm just learning and I want to create a website, I use Lovable and I create an amazing website that would have taken me a year of learning HTML, CSS to be able to do, right? So it lowers the bar. But it also, once you get good at being a software engineer, then you can accomplish many, many things much faster because you know what to do, but the tools allow you to do these things much faster. So it lowers the bar, it increases the ceiling of what an engineer can accomplish on their own. So it's a net positive for both. And if it wasn't clear, I think software engineering is the best career anybody can pursue. So, you know, it's you study for years and then you get paid very well and you have a really good upper ceiling. But you have to like it though, and you have to commit to what it means learning for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Have you made anything just like the using AI, just like it's better your life?
Have I done anything?
Like have you made your projects just like love the game basically, like just to have fun, could like better your life in some way, like maybe automate and whatnot.
Well, I mean, right now, so all my free cycles, I'm building something for work. Like, so all my, because I have an idea and I want to see it, so my weekends are consumed by that idea. But I have done it in the past. For instance, I lived in Dural, and Dural was going through, they had a power plant that burned trash, and it burned down, and they were trying to kick them out. And one of the problems in that area was a lot of smell, garbage smell. Anybody from Doral here?
I go to school near it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the smell, right? Yeah. So I wrote an app where anybody in the community can report. It's called Auto Reporter. If you go to the App Store, you'll see it. And you can report if you have to be in the Doral area, and then you report. And then I use AI to analyze all the reports that the wind, to see what the patterns were about how and why people were experiencing. So that was a weekend, a couple of weekends probably you can use AI for that. So yeah, and that's good because again, like once you have those skills, you can use them not just for work but for other things because you can. If you enjoy writing codes, and others choose to spend the weekend writing code.
Will you add like Copilot to like Xbox and kind of something?
So yes, we are, and one of the I don't have the demo here, but I'll tell you that one of the things that we're doing on Xbox is that when you get stuck in an area and you don't know what to do, you can ask Copilot, "Hey, how do I pass this part of the game?" And then Copilot will find the YouTube videos that explain how to do that. Yeah, that is coming. I don't have the demo here, but I must be on YouTube. I don't know if they publish that in YouTube. I don't know. Yes, I'm just I played games when I was a kid, and then I grew out of that, so I don't follow much of what's going on in Xbox anymore. But I saw that demo from Phil the other day. Yeah.
What about Excel? Are you doing anything with like because like Google's Ox, probably what fake people's this. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
What does that? Yes.
How are other companies like Microsoft? How are they taking into account the negative impacts that AI can have on climate change, especially since everything is so rapidly changing?
Well, I mean the thing with climate change has been the issue of power, right? As we build the data centers, but Microsoft has a carbon neutral goal, 2030. Everything is carbon neutral. So even though we're consuming a lot of power, it's in fact, I don't know if you saw in the news, but there's a nuclear power plant called the 3 Mile Island, Philadelphia, that was shut down because of a meltdown. But that one they're putting it back again because the need of power. Yeah. So, but it is putting tremendous pressure in how we can fulfill the energy gap because of how much these data centers require.
Yeah. I haven't seen a lot of backlash on the use of AI, like the continuous use, based on like the negative impacts is how many kind of change like a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that would be a good reason. The other thing I'll say is AI is going to help a lot of the research that ultimately solve a lot of the world problems. So there's many positives around that. I wouldn't say don't use AI, because of that. And that's all I had. How are we doing on time? Any other questions? Yes.
I think through listening, a lot of us like now to the vision to save this time. That's time you use for something else. In AI, the biggest benefit I think is time save, right? You do 2 weekends for an ad and 2 hours.
Yeah.
What do you think we're gonna be able to do with that extra time?
I mean, it's your choice. But I think it could be we produce more. One of the challenges we have with society is that because we're not having that many kids anymore, the amount of people who are in the productive years is shrinking. Yet we have to support an older generation of people. So, and there's a lot of comments about, hey, we need to have more babies, right? But AI, it's one way where you can close the productivity gap without having to grow the population. So that's probably one of the things that's most impactful about this is solving that productivity gap. If you think about like the way our social system works, where the people who are working subsidize the retirement of those who are not working, right? And for that, you need to have enough people, right? And if people are not having kids, you ended up with a situation where you have more people retired than people producing, and then they're not able to support. So AI can solve that productivity gap. Because it wasn't since the Black Death that we don't have this equation where the number of people in the productive age range had declined. So that's because of economics. So AI is very, very important for that. Wait, no, true.
You mentioned to study the computer engineering obviously is going to explode as a field as AI is increasing in strength, and also you shouted out philosophy. But from your experience, like as a person who's on like the forefront of the AI stuff, what do you think are going to be other areas that are going to increase in either strength or need as the AI develops?
I mean, I think one of the things that's interesting is how there's a lot of research fields that are going to be using AI to accelerate physics or medicine. There's just going to be a lot of areas where research is going to advance because of the use of AI. So I think any area that you're sort of kind of frontier, inventing new things or discovering things is going to be a good area.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So when applying to jobs, at least for me, I learned a lot. You do this way. I learned how to full 5 months to this way.
Yeah.
Thank you, software jobs, the engineering stuff. Maybe the forestry lower now that learning is such a difficult thing. You don't have to go to school. You could see computer for 12 hours and learn a whole new language.
Yeah, I mean, I think ChatGPT and these tools are excellent teachers. It's excellent ways to learn. And it's an excellent tool for you to be learning languages and so on. As for, do you need a degree in computer science? I mean, in Microsoft, we no longer require that. You don't need to have a computer science degree to be a software engineer, and you need to be a good developer. So the bar is, and that bar will continue to increase. So I think to me, the study computer science, one of the benefits of studying computer science or just going to college is it's your ability to demonstrate discipline, right? Because when you go to college, or you have to do all that stuff that you don't enjoy, but you still plow through it because you have to. And work is like that, not all is fancy and rosy. You're gonna do a lot of stuff that you may not like it. So you need to be disciplined at work. And so being able to do that from college, it's a demonstration that you have that discipline. But I mean, it could be other engineering field or physics. I mean, physics is fantastic, or philosophy. I had a boss in my previous company who founded a company. He was a philosophy master's from Duke, was a brilliant guy. And he learned himself how to write code, and he was an excellent developer. So, you just need to have the curiosity and willingness to learn.
I forgot I was gonna say yes.
Yeah.
Will you guys do produce bias in like your ALs?
To reduce bias?
Yeah. Because like so people.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the training, because the training, it's a two-way, two-step training, and the human second stage of the training. There's actually some excellent videos on YouTube that explains how the training model works and the two-stage process, and how those things are addressed in the training.
What do you think of the evolution from Microsoft Clippy to Microsoft Copilot?
The Clippy, oh yeah, Clippy was too early, and I say the first iterations of Copilot were not far out from what Clippy is, and we're kind of moving into something that's really, really useful, and it's taking a lot of work for us to make sure that it's actually useful. So sometimes people call it Clippy. This. Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be like I'm studying computer science because I'm just more interested in hardware. Do you think that's going to become like less important over time? Like you think being able to understand and work with hardware and like design that has become more important or less important?
So I'm a computer engineering. I study computer engineering, but I wanted to do software. I took a bunch of classes that I just didn't care for. I think it's a question of what is it that you want to focus on. Computers in computer science or in computer engineering, but they teach more or less the same. There are some theoretical stuff that was discovered, invented in the 1960s that are still very applicable about data structures and certain algorithms and yada yada. And those things are good to know them, kind of like the foundation or how you think about problems that are sort of universal and they don't go obsolete. So I think those are valuable. But like I said, it's good to be well-rounded. One of the things that we've been talking about at Microsoft is sort of blurring the line between different roles, like a designer or a product manager or an engineer. And we start introducing this concept of builders, and they have multiple skills, right? You can do different things, and I think that is telling about how things are going to evolve, where it's not just about writing the code, but there's many other aspects that are required for you to build a successful product, a successful feature in a product that is, that customers use, have the adoption, yada yada. So having all those skills and have that well-rounded view of everything is important. And so when you think about studying, it's not just about the ability to write the code, but really thinking about broader set of things. So when you think about your electives and the past, you want to make sure you compensate with other things that will be useful to you. But yes, computer science, computer engineering will be excellent choices.
Do you think the hardware aspect is still like as important as it would be? Like
yes, it is. And I think one of the problems when you are too high level in the programming, and then you miss the understanding of memory management or DMAs or all the different things. Even if you're not designing a CPU or memory system, understanding how those things work can have an impact in the way you design things. So it's bad, super bad.
Well, that's why we should.
Yeah. Any other questions? Well, I hope you found this useful. Give you a bit of a sneak peek of how is at Microsoft, some of the things that we're doing. It's an amazing time, and if you guys study computer engineering, computer science, also you're making a really excellent choice. And you should tell your friends. They should also consider it.